guy walks into a dealership to buy a $30,000 car. He walks out with a 72-month loan at 8% interest. Total paid over 6 years, $41,000. $11,000 in pure interest. But here's what nobody told him. That same $11,000 invested in the S&P 500 at 10% annual return over those same 6 years would have grown to $19,000. He didn't just lose $11,000. He lost the opportunity to turn it into $19,000. That's a $30,000 swing in net worth from one decision. And it gets worse. Because 3 years into that loan, his car is worth $18,000, but he still owes $23,000. He's underwater by $5,000. He can't sell it without writing a check. He's trapped. And the dealer knew this would happen before he signed anything. I'm going to show you exactly how car dealerships engineer this trap, why it's gotten exponentially worse since 2020, and the specific psychological tricks they use to make you think you're getting a deal when you're actually volunteering for financial quicksand. And I'm talking about people making 6 figures who should know better. Smart people. Because the math isn't hidden in fine print. It's hidden in how your brain processes monthly payments versus total cost. By the way, I built a free early retirement calculator because most online ones are mathematically wrong. It uses BlackRock and Vanguard logic to expose the weak points in your plan, and I only ask for your email to send the report so I don't store any of your financial data. Link in the description. Here's the central thing you need to understand. Car dealers don't sell cars anymore. They sell monthly payments. Think of it like this. Imagine you're at a restaurant, and instead of showing you the price of a steak, the menu shows you what it costs per bite. 17 cents per bite sounds reasonable, right? You don't think about the fact that a normal person takes 150 bites, which means that steak actually costs $25. Your brain anchors on 17 cents. That's the game. Dealers never talk about the total price of the car. They talk about what you can afford per month. And once they get you thinking in monthly payments, they control every other variable. The price of the car, the interest rate, the length of the loan, the trade-in value. They can move all those numbers around like shells in a con game. And as long as the monthly payment looks right, you'll sign. Here's where it starts getting interesting. Back in 2010, the average car loan was 64 months. That's 5 years and change. By 2024, it hit 70 months, almost 6 years. But now in 2026, I'm seeing dealerships push 84-month loans as standard, 7 years. You know what's wild about a 7-year car loan? The average person only keeps a car for 6 years. So you're signing up to make payments on a car for longer than you'll own it. And here's the kicker nobody mentions. A new car loses 20% of its value the second you drive it off the lot. Another 15% in the first year. So you're immediately underwater and you're stretching the pain across 7 years to make the monthly payment look acceptable. Let me show you the exact numbers because this is where the trap actually locks. Say you're buying a $45,000 SUV. Dealer shows you an 84-month loan at 7.5% interest. Your monthly payment, $638. Sounds manageable if you're making 70 or 80 grand a year, right? But here's what you actually agreed to. Total amount paid over 7 years, $53,500. You just paid $8,500 in interest. But wait, it's worse. That $45,000 car, it's worth maybe $28,000 after 4 years. You've paid $30,600 in payments. You still owe $22,900. You're underwater by almost $5,000 at the 4-year mark, which is exactly when most people want to trade in. Now you're asking yourself, why would anyone agree to this? And this is where the psychology gets really predatory. Dealers use a technique called the 4-square method. They draw a grid on a sheet of paper. Top left is the vehicle price. Top right is your trade-in value. Bottom left is your down payment. Bottom right is your monthly payment. Then they play musical chairs with the numbers. They'll increase your trade-in value but raise the vehicle price. They'll lower the vehicle price but cut your trade-in allowance. They'll hit your monthly payment target but stretch the loan to 84 months. And they never, ever let you focus on one box at a time. Because if you only looked at total interest paid, you'd walk out. If you only looked at the loan term, you'd walk out. But when your brain is trying to track 4 moving targets, it latches onto the one that feels most concrete, the monthly payment. I've got a friend who runs a commercial lending business. He told me a story about a guy who came in trying to refinance his personal debt to free up cash for a business investment. Smart guy, owns a small manufacturing company, cleared $200,000 a year. My friend pulls his credit report. This guy's got 3 car loans. 3. A truck for 72 months, an SUV for his wife at 84 months, and a sports car for 60 months. Total monthly outlay, $2,100 every single month. For years. My friend does the math. Between the 3 vehicles, this guy's paying almost $35,000 in interest alone over the life of the loans. And here's the thing that broke my brain. The guy didn't even realize it. He thought of them as $600 payments, $700 payments, $800 payments. He never added them up. He never calculated total cost. The dealer got him 3 separate times with the same trick. But you might be thinking, okay, the long loan is bad, but what about 0% financing? I see those ads everywhere. Here's what they don't tell you. 0% financing isn't free money, it's a discount shifted into time. Let me explain. Dealerships get their inventory through something called floor plan financing. They borrow money from banks to stock their lot, and they pay interest every single day those cars sit there. When a manufacturer offers 0% financing, they're actually paying the interest on your behalf, but they bake that cost into the vehicle price. So that $45,000 SUV, without the 0% offer, the dealer might have been willing to negotiate down to $41,000. But because the manufacturer is subsidizing your loan, the price stays firm at $45,000. You're still paying the interest. It's just hidden in the sticker price. And here's the really sick part. 0% offers are almost always only available on longer loan terms. 72 months minimum. Because the longer you're locked into that car, the longer you can't trade it in without taking a massive loss. This is where it gets really interesting. The entire dealer incentive structure is built around monthly payment, not vehicle price. A salesperson makes commission based on the back-end profit, which includes financing markup. Here's how that works. The bank approves you for, say, 6% interest. The dealer is allowed to mark that up to 8% and keep the difference. That's called a finance reserve, and it goes straight into the dealer's pocket. So when you walk in and the finance manager says, I got you approved at 8%, you think he did you a favor. He didn't. You were approved at 6%. He just made 2% on your loan. Over a 72-month loan on $45,000, that 2% markup is worth about $3,000 to the dealer. The salesperson gets a cut of that. So his incentive isn't to get you the best rate. His incentive is to get you the highest rate you'll accept while keeping the monthly payment in your comfort zone. Let me give you a concrete scenario because this is where people get destroyed. Meet Tom. He's 42, makes $95,000 a year, married, 2 kids. He drives a 5-year-old sedan worth about $12,000. He wants to upgrade to a newer mid-size SUV because hauling kids and gear in a sedan is a nightmare. He walks into the dealership. The SUV he wants has a sticker price of $48,000. Dealer immediately asks what he wants his monthly payment to be. Tom says, I don't want to go above $600 a month. Red flag. Tom just told the dealer his ceiling. Now the dealer works backward. $600 a month over 84 months at 7% interest means Tom can finance about $42,000, but the SUV is $48,000. So the dealer says, great news, we'll give you $16,000 for your trade-in. Tom knows his car is only worth $12,000. He thinks he's winning. He's not. The dealer isn't giving him $16,000. They're inflating his trade value and baking the difference into the vehicle price. The SUV was never $48,000. It was $44,000 after negotiation. But by giving him $16,000 for his trade, they're still at a net $48,000. Tom signs. He's now locked into a 7-year loan where he'll pay $50,400 total. His car will be worth $29,000 at year 4. He'll still owe $28,000. He's trapped for 7 years, and the dealer made $4,000 on the vehicle and another $2,000 on the financing markup. Now here's the psychological shift that actually matters. Your brain is hardwired for immediate cost, not deferred cost. This is why credit card debt destroys people. Spending $20 today doesn't feel like spending $20. It feels like updating a number on a statement you'll deal with later. Car loans exploit the exact same cognitive bias. $600 a month doesn't feel like $53,000. It feels like $600. Your brain can't intuitively grasp the compounding cost of 7 years of payments, but it can grasp 600. So you anchor on 600, and once you anchor, the dealer owns you. Here's where the system really breaks down. Since 2020, average new car prices have increased by 32%, from $39,000 to $51,000. But median household income only went up 14%. So how are people still buying cars? Longer loans, higher interest rates, bigger down payments. All three. The average down payment in 2026 is now 12% of the vehicle price, up from 8% in 2019. People are draining savings to get into cars they can't afford, then stretching the loan to keep the monthly payment survivable. It's financial self-immolation, and dealers encourage it because their commission doesn't care if you're broke in 3 years. They get paid today. But you might think, okay, what if I just lease instead of buy? Leasing is the same trap wearing a disguise. Here's how leases work. The dealer calculates the depreciation of the car over the lease term, adds interest, which they call a money factor, and that's your payment. Sounds simple? It's not. Because leases come with mileage caps, usually 10 or 12,000 miles a year. Go over, you pay 25 to 50 cents per mile, and you pay for any damage beyond normal wear and tear when you turn it in. So you're making payments on a car you don't own, you're restricted on how much you can drive it, and if you ding the bumper, you're writing another check at lease end. Oh, and here's the kicker. At the end of the lease, you have nothing. No equity, no trade-in value, just the option to lease another car and start the cycle again. It's renting with extra steps and penalties. Let me hit you with a quick comparison because the numbers are absurd. Option A, buy a $45,000 car with a 6-year loan at 7%. Total paid, $53,500. After 6 years, the car is worth about $20,000. Net cost, $33,500. Option B, lease the same car for 3 years at $450 a month. Then lease another car for 3 years at $450 a month. Total paid, $32,400. After 6 years, you own nothing. Net cost, $32,400 plus, you own nothing. So you paid almost the same amount and have zero equity. But wait, it's worse. Because those lease payments looked more affordable month to month, so you probably upgraded to a nicer car. Now you're paying $550 a month instead of $450. And you're locked in a cycle where you're always making a payment and never building equity. There's a reason dealerships push leases on high-income earners. It's not because leases are good deals. It's because high-income earners value monthly cash flow and like driving new cars. So they're willing to pay a premium for flexibility. But that premium is massive. Over a lifetime of car ownership, leasing versus buying costs you an extra $150,000. And I'm being conservative with that number. That's not counting what that money could have done invested. $150,000 invested at 10% for 30 years is $2.6 million. You traded $2.6 million for the privilege of driving a new car every 3 years. Now here's a conversation I imagine happens at every dealership. Customer walks in and says, I want to pay cash. Salesperson's face drops. Finance manager suddenly gets called away. Because cash buyers are the lowest margin customers. The dealer makes money on financing. They make money on extended warranties, which they push in the finance office. They make money on gap insurance, paint protection, fabric protection, tire, and wheel coverage. All of that happens during financing. Cash buyers skip that entire profit center. So dealers will actually give you a worse price if you're paying cash because they know they're not making back-end money. I've seen dealers offer a lower price to a finance buyer than a cash buyer on the same car because the financing commission more than makes up the difference. Let me tell you about a guy I know who figured this out. He walks into a dealership, negotiates the price of a truck, tells them he's financing, gets the price down to $42,000, goes through the whole finance process, signs the paperwork. Then 10 days later, he pays off the entire loan. The dealer can't claw back the commission because the loan was funded. He got the financing discount without paying $1 of interest. Is this ethical? I don't know. Is it ethical for dealers to mark up interest rates by 2% without telling you? You decide. Here's the thing dealers will never say out loud. They don't want you to buy a car. They want you to finance a car, trade it in while you're still underwater, and roll that negative equity into your next loan. Because that's how they get you twice. You walk in to trade your car, They lowball your trade at 16,000, you owe 19,000. You're 3,000 underwater. Instead of walking away, they say, "No problem, we'll roll that into your new loan." So now you're financing a $50,000 SUV plus 3,000 in negative equity. You're borrowing 53,000 for a car worth 50,000. You're underwater before you leave the lot, and the cycle repeats. Trade-ins with negative equity are now 33% of all trade-ins. 33% of people walking into dealerships owe more than their car is worth. That's not bad luck. That's system design. All right, so what do you actually do about this? 3 things. First, never tell the dealer your monthly payment target, ever. The second you say, "I want to stay around $500 a month," you've lost. Instead, negotiate the total price of the car. Get that number as low as possible. Only then do you talk about financing. And when you talk about financing, bring your own. Get pre-approved through a credit union or an online lender before you walk into the dealership. Credit unions average 1 to 2% lower interest rates than dealer financing. On a $45,000 loan over 60 months, that's a difference of about $1,500. You just saved $1,500 by spending 30 minutes on a credit union website. Second, don't trade in your car at the dealership. Sell it privately. The dealer will always lowball your trade because they need margin to resell it. Private party sales get you 10 to 15% more. Yes, it's more work. You have to list it, deal with buyers, handle paperwork. But on a $15,000 car, that's an extra $1,500 to $2,250 in your pocket. That's real money. Third, and this is the one nobody wants to hear, buy a 3-year-old car with cash, or if you have to finance, keep the loan under 48 months. A 3-year-old car has already eaten the worst depreciation. You're buying it at 50 to 60% of its original price, but it's still got most of its usable life. And if you're financing, a 48-month loan forces you to own a car you can actually afford. If you can't make the payment work over 4 years, you can't afford the car. That's the test. Let me give you the final number that should rewire your brain. The average American spends 9% of their gross income on car payments, insurance, gas, and maintenance. That's $9 out of every 100 you earn going into a depreciating asset. If instead you drove a paid-off car and invested that 9% into an S&P 500 index fund for 30 years, you'd retire with an extra $1.2 million. That's the actual cost of a car payment. It's not the $600 a month. It's the $1 million plus in net worth you're trading for the feeling of driving something new. Here's the thing about dealers. They're not evil. They're rational actors responding to incentives. Their job is to maximize profit per transaction. Your job is to minimize cost per transaction. Those goals are in direct conflict, and only one of you has done this thousands of times. So either you learn the game or you pay the stupid tax. And the stupid tax on cars is crushing. I've watched too many guys making 6 figures drive $60,000 trucks they're buried in while wondering why they can't build wealth. The car isn't an asset. It's a liability pretending to be a status symbol. And every month you're making that payment, you're working for the bank instead of yourself. Don't work for money. Own the companies that do. And if you just bought a car on an 84-month loan, I'm sorry. But at least now you know why you're stuck.